Okay, welcome to the YNAB intro tutorial. I'm making this video because I believe that creating a thorough spending plan is a foundational step in this process. No one is going to truly care for your personal financial well-being the way that you will. And so it's important that you understand this process. So please watch this entire video, follow each step, and let's get your spending plan set up properly. Okay. Now, here's the page you'll see once you create an account inside of YNAB. And now by default, YNAB will start you off with pre-made categories, and the solid light blue bar where it says bills, frequent, non-monthly, those are called category groups. And the line items below them is where you add your expenses and also your savings goals. So I'm going to walk you through this 5-step process. Okay, so walk with me. Step number 1, what I need you to do is delete all the YNAB categories. We're going to start from scratch and we're going to customize your own personal YNAB layout. And so I'm using a Mac. And so to delete, let's say the rent and the mortgage line item, I press the control button, I click the mouse, and then I press the delete option. And now a quicker way to delete a section rather than just the individual line items is select the category group. And so let's select the bills category group, press the control button, click the mouse, and then press the delete option. And then that removes everything at once. And so I want you to take a moment to delete all the category groups and the line items, okay? That's step 1. Okay, so now that your categories are deleted, then let's move on to step number 2, which is to personalize your YNAB spending plan. And now this step will take some time, and it's going to require you to be able to forward think. And so I don't want you to rush through this. Take your time. But ultimately, once you've done this step, your layout will look similar to how I have mine set up. And so give me a second, open my account for you, and I'll show you my personal setup. Okay, so here's my YNAB spending plan. I have about 19 category groups and 58 line items, give or take. That may sound like a lot, I recognize that, but my financial picture is completely mapped out inside of YNAB. I've told all my dollars where to go, and I have a clear game plan on how my money should be spent. That's what you need. So very rarely does anything catch me off guard financially, and that's only because I forward think. I've set up an efficient game plan for my money. And so we want your budget to be as detailed as it possibly can be, because we want to eliminate any expenses catching you off guard financially, and we definitely want for you to avoid living check to check. And so we do this by creating a thorough financial game plan. Okay. Now, briefly, what I want us to do, I want to run down my categories so you can see exactly how I have mine laid out. So for starters, I have a category group for giving and the line items of where I'm specifically giving to. And so we all pay for groceries. And so definitely add this into your spending plan. When it comes to investing, this won't apply to everyone right now, especially if you have high interest debt or you're focusing on just breaking even every single month. I don't want you then to add this category group just yet. But those of you who are ready to invest and you have extra cash flow available to purchase assets, definitely add a line item in your budget for investing. We want to be intentional about setting money aside for this exact purpose. Okay. Savings. Everyone should be actively building up their emergency fund. And so definitely add a line item in your budget for savings. Fun money. This category group is important. It's important because I've heard people say a budget feels restrictive or a budget doesn't allow them to enjoy life. I'm here to challenge that way of thinking. Like my mom used to tell me as a kid, she used to say, Corbin, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. And so perception is key. The way you view a budget is key. And I'm telling you, a budget just gives you permission to spend money. That's it. That's what it's designed for. And so I'm definitely telling you to enjoy your life. Spend your money on fun events, but let's do it responsibly. Let's do it in such a way that doesn't jeopardize your financial security or require you to rack up large sums of credit card debt that then you can't afford to immediately pay off and the cycle continues. So please add a fun money category group. And I want you to list out the areas where you're spending your money for fun. Now, to give some reference, me and my wife, we both have a personal allowance. And each time we get paid, we set a portion of our money into our individual line item, which we can then spend however we decide. This next line item, please do not overlook it. Definitely have a miscellaneous line item for the expenses that will creep up on you. It's going to happen. Even the most experienced budgeters miss things. I miss things. And frankly, as we all know, life is unpredictable, right? So set up financial safeguards, which that's the purpose of a miscellaneous line item. It's a safeguard, okay? Homeownership. All of you either pay rent or you have a mortgage, so include that expense. And I want you to ask yourself, what other home-related expenses do you have? So for my personal budget, there's our solar payment and our ADT security payment. So add all of your personal home-related expenses. Here's what I mean by being intentional with telling your dollars where they need to go. So home ownership luxuries. Now, my wife, she likes to decorate our home. And she likes to buy items from Costco, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Ross, Amazon, Target, right? And although my wife doesn't buy items for our house weekly, sometimes she won't even do it monthly. The point is, it's important to her. And so rather than waiting for my wife to randomly go out one afternoon, stroll into a store, see a $200 rug that catches her eye and purchase it on a whim, we strategize. And we say, even though we don't know when she'll want to buy something for the house, we know that she will. And so we need to be intentional about setting money away specifically for this expense. And the dollar amount, it can be modest, right? Let's say perhaps it's $44 each pay period, but $44 built up over time, that turns into a large sum. And so I really want you to include the activities, include the hobbies that you enjoy inside of your spending plan, right? And you may not spend money in that area every week or every month, but that's not the point. The point is soon you will spend money. And so we need to be intentional to have money prepped and ready to spend specifically for that expense. Most people carry at least one subscription, so list out all of your subscriptions, okay? And the same applies for insurance. I have my car insurance and life insurance listed out. Holidays, some of the best times, I know we can all agree, some of the best times out the year just to create memories. Yet it's the one time out the year that catches people off guard the most financially. Remember, keywords here, forward think. So what events, what holidays do you consistently celebrate? And you can see my list. I have a line item for my mom's birthday, my wife's birthday, our anniversary, my sister-in-law's birthday, my niece's birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas, even my birthday. So I like to say, treat holidays or treat the events you celebrate like a monthly bill, okay? You pay your rent or your phone bill without fail every single month on time. So why not flip that and treat your birthday or treat Christmas or treat whatever's coming up, whatever annual expense you have, just the same? All right, so for instance, Christmas is December 25th. It comes at the same time every single year and it never changes. Yet people are always trying to scrounge up money come December last minute, or they blow their paycheck on gifts even though they're already living a paycheck to paycheck cycle, or they just rely on high interest credit card debt to pay for gifts, which means you're doing what? That means you're automatically bringing debt into the new year, right? And that's a way of behaving that isn't efficient. But what is efficient is preparation. And so what if you were to save $100 a month from, let's say, January to December? That means you would have $1,200 to spend guilt-free on anything Christmas related. And better yet, if you then decide to use credit cards, you already have $1,200 tucked away to pay your statement balance in full. And so I want you to add a holiday category group and list out the events you intend to celebrate throughout the year. Same concept applies to annual expenses. I know we all have once a year bills that show up in our life. And so whether that's your vehicle registration and you also pay for smog, maybe you have membership renewals like Amazon Prime or a Costco membership, or even insurance policy renewals. What I want you to do is take your time and list out all of your annual expenses and add them to your spending plan. Vacations, most people want to travel. There's a particular way I like to prepare for vacation expenses. So for the sake of time, I'm going to speak on this topic in a completely different video, okay? Your pets, if you have an animal, add line items for them. You can see I have a vet line item, and also a line item called Nala, which that's the name of our cat. And Nala, that line item is specifically for her food related costs. Vehicles. Those of you who have cars, please add this category group. It's important. I definitely advise you to create a vehicle maintenance line item. Now, cars go through plenty of wear and tear while they're on the road, and so it's inevitable. You're going to need an oil change or new tires or new brakes or a tune-up at some point in time. And so we should be preparing for these expenses, which technically they're not emergencies, since we know, right? That's the key word there. The two key words. We know vehicle maintenance is going to happen. It's not a surprise. So I like to say, if your current vehicle is in good condition, it's not causing you any issues, then incrementally put money aside for maintenance. And it doesn't have to be much. Maybe it's $21 per pay period, right? But this type practice, this creates space in your finances. So when car expenses occur, you can handle them because you were diligent enough and faithful enough to consistently set money aside every pay period. Now, it's worth stating, I know some vehicle-related expenses, it's going to require you to pull money from your emergency fund. Maybe your transmission goes out or there's some other expensive repair that's necessary. Then definitely pull your emergency fund. That's what it's for. But I'm just saying, for those smaller, less expensive maintenance repairs, start preparing for those. And the last line item for vehicles I have is just gas. I want you to add a line item for that expense. When it comes to credit cards, I'm going to treat this like vacations. There's a particular way I handle credit cards within YNAB. And so I'm going to create a separate video on that subject. And lastly, we have utilities. So I have my phone bill, trash, PG&E, internet, and my water listed. I want you to add in your utility expenses into YNAB. Okay, step 3. I want you to name your categories and set target dates. So for your fixed expenses or the holidays or the events that you celebrate and those annual expenses, there's a particular way I suggest setting these categories up. All right, because the objective with creating a thorough spending plan, that's what we're doing here, a thorough spending plan. We need to be as detailed as possible. And so let's just make sure that we input all the information that we need to keep you and your budget on task. And so one of the great things about YNAB is you can edit each individual line item and you can name it exactly how you choose. And so for all your expenses with set due dates, I'm recommending you follow this exact process. So let's take my home ownership category group, for example. I want you to write out the expense name. And so for this example, I'm using my mortgage. And so let's type that in. Then put a dash. And input your mortgage or your rent total. So my monthly mortgage is $2,189.95 a month. Then I put a slash and write out when my mortgage is due, which is the first of the month. Then I'll input my next home ownership expense, which is ADT security. Put a dash and then input the total, which is $63.99 a month. I put a slash and then I write out when the payment is due, which is the 24th of the month. And then my last home ownership line item is my solar payment. Put a dash, input solar payment total, which is $82.23 a month. I put my slash, then I write out when the payment is due, which is the 2nd of the month. Okay, so once your expenses are properly listed, the next step is then to put in order by due date. And so my mortgage goes on top since it's due on the 1st, and then my solar payment since it's due on the 2nd, and then ADT since it's due on the 24th. And now I want you to follow this same process. So when inputting your subscription expenses, insurance expenses, annual expenses, and utility expenses, and all other fixed expenses, okay, follow this step. And then once you've named your line items and put them in order by due date, the next step is to then create a target category. Now, targets help you stay on task financially, and they really just remove all the guesswork of how your bills or your savings goals should be funded on a monthly basis. And so let's just walk through this. So if I want to create a target for my mortgage, I select the mortgage line item, and then to the right of the screen, it says target or create a mortgage target. I want you to select that option. Then in the amount section, input your rent or your mortgage total. And so my mortgage is $2,189.95 a month. And then below, you'll see a selection that says needed for spending. Leave all your fixed bills that have set monthly due dates with this option. Okay. Then there's a selection that says monthly, weekly, or by date. Your fixed bills aren't due weekly. They're not due by a specific one-time date. Rather, your fixed bills are due monthly, every single month. So select the monthly option and then specify when or specify what day of the month your rent is due or your mortgage is due. And so my mortgage is due the 1st of the month. And then I'll now press the Save Target button, and you can see how this icon turned orange and the rest are gray. And the orange icon, that indicates that you've set up a financial target. And to keep yourself on task, YNAB then informs you how much money needs to be assigned this month to reach your money target. So I must assign $2,189.95 more this month to hit my mortgage target. And so we'll follow this step for all of your fixed expenses. Okay. Now let's shift gears, and I want to add a target to a holiday expense. And so let's use Christmas as the example. And so I'll create a category group and name it holidays. Then I'll input Christmas, put a dash, then I'll input the event date. So December 25th. And now let's add a target. And so for the amount section, you need to ask yourself, how much money do you need to have by Christmas? So let's say you want to have $550. So the next step is I want you to select need for spending, then select by date option, since we want $550 by a specific date, not monthly and not weekly. Now, Christmas is on the 25th of December. We know this. And so we must do our shopping and have our $550 ready to go before the 25th. And so let's say your target date is set for December 5th. And press the Save Target button, and you can see the icon turn orange, and that has notified you, right, that a target date has been set, and you want $550 by December 5th. Now, it's already June. And that means you must save $78.58 this month to stay on target. Step number 4, link your checking account. Now, the idea with using YNAB is we want you to work smarter, not harder. And so one way just to eliminate any stress, any anxiety, really any annoyance with sticking to a budget and consistently tracking all the money inflow and all the money outflow is linking your primary checking account inside of YNAB. And so to the left of the screen, you will see the button that says Add Account. I want you to click that button. And then you will see two options. One says Linked and the other says Unlinked. And now, if you prefer to manually insert your transactions and manually input all your deposits, then you can use the unlinked option, but I'm highly recommending that you link your checking account. Life is hectic enough, so why create more work for yourself by having to manually input all your paychecks or manually input all the withdrawals that are taken in and out of your checking account? And so my coaching style and really my coaching advice, select the linked option. We want this process to be as seamless as possible for you. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire process since my checking account is already linked inside of YNAB, but it is a very straightforward process. No doubt you can get this done. So complete step number 4. Lastly, about this step, I recommend only link your primary checking account that gets the most activity. And so by this, I mean the account where you receive your income deposits and where the withdrawals happen for your bills. In my experience, the more unnecessary accounts that I would link, the harder it became to keep track and manage my YNAB setup, especially when you're first starting out. And so right now, I'm highly recommending less is more. Just link your primary checking account. And step number 5, last one, give every dollar a name. So once you have your checking account linked, let's then assign your current available balance in your checking account to the specific categories that you've created inside of YNAB. And now we're just going to assume, hypothetical situation, that you have $1,052.33 available in your checking account. Now, if you have more than this, if you have less than this, that's fine. The concept still applies. But the question herein lies, what does the money that you have currently in your checking account need to do for you before you get paid again? Because we know that your checking account, it only tells you how much money you have available, but it doesn't inform you exactly what that money should be doing and how it should be allocated. And so we need to be mindful to allocate those dollars. Now, be mindful as we assign money to our categories. Watch how the green box on top, our $1,052.33, begins to decrease as we assign money. And so with having $1,052.33 available, let's go down the list for the home category group. Let's begin with rent, which is $500 a month, and that's due on the first of every month. And so for this example, let's assume we're allocating this money on June 1st, which means then our rent payment isn't due till July 1st. And so we have an entire month until our rent is due, but we're not going to wait the entire 30 days to then begin paying rent. We're going to strategize early, and we're going to begin building that muscle of preparation. And so assume that you get paid twice a month. Let's say you get paid on the 15th and the end of the month, but it's only June 1st, which means you haven't reached your first paycheck yet. And so you have $1,052.33 currently available in your checking account. So for your rent payment, let's take $500 and divide by 3. And just to clarify, we're dividing by 3 because you have 2 upcoming paychecks plus money currently available in your checking account. And so $500 divided by 3, that equals $167. So let's allocate $167 in our rent line item. And now you can see, once you added $167, our spending target decreased to $333. And so we need $333 more to reach our target by June 1st. And so once your paycheck deposits into your checking account, you'll take $333, divide that by 2 paychecks, which means next payday, you'll add an additional $167, and then so on until you reach the $500 target. Okay, let's continue down the list. So internet. Our internet payment is $50 a month, and that's due on the 3rd of every single month. And so since we're assuming it's June 1st, that means we aren't expecting a paycheck to deposit into our checking account before our internet bill is due. And so then we must fully fund this expense right now. So let's add $50 to our internet line item. Okay, now you can see that orange target icon turned green, and that indicates that you fully funded your target. And now you can just wait for your internet bill to withdraw from your checking account. And now, FYI, we'll discuss how to withdraw transactions in YNAB in a completely different video. Okay. Moving on. So the water bill, which is $22.78 this month, and it's due on the 17th of every single month. Since you get paid on the 15th and you currently have money available inside of the checking account, let's divide your water bill by 2. And so $22.78 divided by 2, that equals $11.39. And now you can see that target decreased. And we must fund an additional $11.39 next payday to fully fund our water bill. Same concept applies to the electric bill, which is due on the 23rd of the month. And so we'll take $42.17, divide that by 2, which equals $21. And then next payday, we must add an additional $21.17 to fully fund the electric bill. Next up, we had the vehicle category group. So I advise add a line item for vehicle maintenance and for gas. Let's prepare for both expenses. Remember, variable expenses like gas, groceries, clothing, personal allowances, these numbers will fluctuate. And so please don't get stuck in analysis paralysis on how much these categories should get funded. It can take months really to find a spending rhythm that works well with your budget. But as time moves on and you consistently follow this process, you'll begin to understand how much to give to your variables. Okay. So for this example, let's give $120 to gas and let's give $33 to vehicle maintenance. And now remember, if your vehicle is in good working condition, then fund your vehicle maintenance category just in smaller increments. But if your car is prone to issues and it's constantly going back and forth to the mechanic, then fund this category a bit more aggressively. Okay. Really, the beauty of preparing for vehicle maintenance is if you can plan accordingly, you'll have cash flow set aside. So then when you pay for vehicle maintenance expenses and you decide to use a credit card, you already have the cash flow set aside to then pay off that statement balance in full. So preparation is key in all areas of your budget. Next, we have the annual expenses, right? So those once a year expenses that can easily creep up on you and alter your cash flow because you weren't prepared for it. So let's prepare for your annual expenses. Now, most people pay for Amazon Prime, and so it's an easy example to reference. And if I'm not mistaken, Amazon Prime costs about $139 a year. And based on this example, we're assuming that the payment is due on November 24th. So in order to have $139 by November 24th, this month in June, we must set aside $23.17 to stay on target. And since you have your current checking account balance available, plus 2 upcoming paychecks, let's take $23.17 and divide that by 3, which equals $7.72, which now means you have to have $15.45 more this month to stay on target. This is what I mean when I say incremental savings create big impacts when you start early, okay? For groceries, please don't get hung up on this expense. I know it can take some time. It can take a few paycheck cycles to find an amount that's going to be sufficient for you. So as you're starting out, just be mindful to track your grocery spending. So then at the end of the month, you can account for how much you've spent and then adjust accordingly for next month, okay? So for this example, let's just set aside $200 for groceries. For the emergency savings, this is critical. We need to start being intentional about saving for unexpected surprises when, not if, but when life punches you in the face financially, okay? So for this example, I'm going to set aside $291.22 in the emergency reserve line item. Now, it's worth noting that since the emergency fund isn't a traditional monthly bill, like month over month, as you continue to add funds in this category every single pay period, the amount's going to grow. And so then you'll need to be intentional about transferring your emergency fund dollars into your high yield savings account. And we can discuss withdrawing funds in YNAB in a separate video just to help you understand the process and really just see it in real time. Okay. Fun money, again, this category is important. I want you to enjoy your life. I want you to spend money on things you love, to travel, to buy new gadgets. I just want you to do it in a way that promotes good stewardship of your money, okay? So add a fun money category to your spending plan and then insert line items that bring value to you. And so for this example, I've included the personal allowance fund, which will add $75 into the fund. And then a category everyone needs to include is miscellaneous. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Even the most experienced budgeters, we miss things because life is unpredictable, it's unexpected, and events will pop up. And those events that pop up sometimes don't qualify as an emergency. And so it's important then to keep a miscellaneous buffer just to keep your finances in check. And so for this example, I'll set aside $50 into the miscellaneous fund. And lastly, we made it to the end. Holidays. Christmas is a day many people love to celebrate. And it's a season where dollars seem to just flow effortlessly. And so our objective is to turn you into a proper steward of money. And so that means we need to be intentional about preparing for the events and the holidays that you consistently celebrate. And now, since Christmas is on December 25th, and in this example, we're allocating our money on the 1st of June. And so if we want $550 by December 5th, then we must save $78.58 this month to stay on target. And now, just to reiterate, we have the current money in our checking account that we're allocating, plus 2 upcoming paychecks in the month of June. And so let's take $78.58 and divide that by 3, which equals $26, which now means before the end of the month, we must fund an additional $52.58 to stay on target to reach our goal of $550 by December 5th. Okay. Now, briefly, let me quickly undo the last allocation and then pay attention to the top green box that says $26 ready to assign. Now, when I allocate this last $26 into the Christmas category, the top box will change from green to gray. So let me insert $26. Okay, you see that? That means you spend all your money. You spent the entire $1,052.33 has been spent in YNAB. You have a plan, you have a purpose, you have an assignment for all your dollars. This is the process I'm asking you to follow. Every single time money deposits into your account, this is what I'm asking you to do. And now I personally find it a lot easier to do this process on physical paper first. And then once I've spent all my money on physical paper, I then come into the YNAB platform to then start allocating all of my money. I really hope this process makes sense. If you're confused by anything, if you need to talk something through just in more detail, please do not hesitate. Schedule time on my check-in calendar. We can meet face-to-face via Google Meet and just answer all your questions. Again, this is a foundational step in this process, and so I need you to understand it. I need you to consistently implement this practice, okay? You got this. I'm rooting for you. Good luck.